I'll go to Mrs. Abedini and Ms. Hekmati for a question. I've read the reports on the torture in prison. What I am interested in right now is the mental well-being or the condition psychologically. If I could ask you about your husband and about your brother.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, his mental condition is my biggest worry, even though his physical condition is not very well. He doesn't get very much protein or clean water, and he's still suffering from the internal injuries. But his mental is him being taken in and out of solitary 3 times now, being put in exile prison, being put in murder ward, just the continuous pressure they've tried. He's seen in early April, there was close to 50 prisoners in his prison that were executed in Raja Ishar, and he's continuously told that he should be given the death. He should be because he's a convert, because he's a Christian. He's continually told he will never come out unless he denies his faith. And his family, his father, who's visiting him in Iran right now, is the greatest worry he has, is his mental condition and the psychological games they're playing with him. And my biggest worry as a wife and mother is the condition I will have to deal with when he comes home.
Thank you. Sarah?
Similar to Naghmeh, she referred to psychological games. Amir has been strung along for nearly 4 years. He said that during his court appearance for the 15 minutes that it was determined he was worthy of being sentenced to death, that his attorney had reassured him that he could be acquitted and be released in a year max. At that point, he was already serving 6 months. Now it's going on 4 years. He has been told things like his mother was killed in a car accident as a part of mental torture. At that time, he had no way of communicating to our family to even determine whether that was true or not. It's been a long ride for him to the point that he's become emotionally numb and just doesn't really know what to expect anymore. So we do really worry about his emotional well-being as well.
Last week, on the eve of the beginning of Jason's so-called trial, Washington Post editor Martin Barron issued a statement that read in part, "It is worth recalling what kind of system we're dealing with. Jason was arrested without charges. He was imprisoned in Iran's worst prison. He was placed in isolation for many months and denied medical care he needed. His case was assigned to a judge internationally notorious for human rights violations. He could not select the lawyer of his choosing. He was given only an hour and a half to meet with a lawyer approved by the court. No evidence has ever been produced by prosecutors or the court to support these absurd charges. The trial date was only disclosed to Jason's lawyer last week, and now, unsurprisingly, but unforgivably, it turns out the trial will be closed." Mr. Razian, have you been able to have any communication with your brother?
I haven't spoken to my brother since last July. My mother went to Iran and has been able to speak with him just recently. The trial did begin last week, and it adjourned after 1 day.
How are his spirits right now?
Well, I think that it's been very difficult for him to be so isolated. He's a very social person. I think that we're thankful that there is a process that's moving along, but as we can see, we don't know what will come out of it. He's happy that my mother's there, although he's really concerned because neither his wife nor my mother were able to go to the trial when they started last week.
What would be the duration this charge brings with it? What consequence?
We've heard different things, but I think that it could be, years in prison is what we've heard, possibly 10 years in prison or more.
Yeah. Were there any other thoughts that any of the witnesses would like to express at this time before I go to Mr. Engel? I thank you all for your testimony, and we'll now go to Mr. Elliot Engel of New York for his Questions?